This video is sponsored by Chakra 17. Awaken your vitality with our anti-aging coffee.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's weekly RV report for the week of Friday, October 3rd, 2025. We have made it into the fourth quarter / first quarter of the final stretch of the year and what an ending it promises to be. Thanks for tuning in and watching. We appreciate your support. If you are new to the podcast, please do like, subscribe, and share. It helps the channel grow and others to gain in the knowledge you're currently being afforded. As a normal disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor, guru, and nor is this constituted as financial advice. It's merely high-quality information for you to use for your own personal discernimental authority. Now, as always, we have a lot to cover. Let's get started. In the nation of Iraq, appropriately, we go to this article. Bear with me as the articles come up full screen here. Majid is reporting on earlier this week. For today, Friday, October 3rd, is denoted as International Iraq Day. So we have a lot of banking reforms going on from the Finance Minister Ali Alak. And he's talking about the banking reforms here, as you can see with the CBI. I'm going to bring down the article a little bit. Noted that Iraq offers significant investment opportunities with both government and private institutions, advancing towards a comprehensive investment roadmap capable of generating financial returns, basically making his sales pitch to the world for their return to the international stage. Now, you'll note on a few other articles in the past, recently, he stated, we put this on our Telegram, which you'll see below our screen, depending whether you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, you'll see the link there. Please do support that channel. We do put copious amounts, our team does, every day of what we believe is relevant information of the puzzle pieces. In that, you'll see about a week ago, he said that they had, quote, no intention of returning to the international stage. Now, you'll know that a lot of Middle Easterners in business commerce are taught to a lot of Westerners, so whatever they say, just know it's the exact opposite. Here's an example of that playing itself out. Now I'm going to turn your attention to another article here that just came up from Majid yesterday. He's reporting that first time ever for him seeing this message from his bank in Saudi Arabia, stating that, excuse me, today, October 3rd and tomorrow the 4th, some of the ATMs will not be operating normally for certain hours. Usually he would receive a text message saying there's an update on the banking app, but not on the ATMs. Now, this is our own personal assessment, speculation. We're not saying we're right. We're just thinking out of the box as you need to do at this point. Could this be a cyber attack in country, as happening a lot over in parts of Europe, or a sleight of hand? So that's what remains to be seen, but it is noteworthy, and that's why we wanted to bring it out to you accordingly. Now, as I turn your attention to this next slide here, there's some other complementary information coming up here for immediate release. Earlier this week, statement by Chief Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell on Iraq's situation. U.S. national interest, the Iraqi Constitution, the U.S.-Iraq Strategic Framework Agreement. The U.S. having every intention of supporting that. That's pretty important, folks, because what that means is that they're supporting Iraq going back to the Constitution. Sound like us? Remember, the countries copy each other, so it's a mirroring effect. They are supporting Iraq's initiative to go back to their constitution, which means sound money, which means bringing out the private sector, Ministry of Planning's rate to come back to the international stage. This is another denotation or demarcation of that, or another confirmation, if you will. So very important to put these pieces together, as you know quite well. Now, let's go to our attention in what we're going to call the other category. And we're going to turn our attention to Amelia / Crypto Barbie. She tells us earlier this week that the U.S. Treasury will modernize payments to and from America's bank account. Huge for XRP. So they're shifting from the SWIFT system optically to the QFS, or the ISO 20022 digital asset-backed system, keyword there, for the public to see. Again, we know all this, but it's important to see these things coming out, excuse me, in front and center for the public so that they can catch the narrative that they need to see. Now we're going to go to the next article here. This is important. Here's the video from Fletch17 on X. Again, we know that the Fed was baked into the Treasury 5 years ago. I've shown you articles. For those of you who've been following our work for a while, you know that you've seen this. For the newbies, go back and look at our previous archive podcast. You'll see that we showed articles last year where the Fed was baked into the Treasury 5 years ago during COVID. But again, more public narration. So we're going to show you this quick video where President Trump talks about removing income tax. It's going back to the constitutional republic. When you remove income tax, you have to remove property tax. Those of you who understand, we've been groaning about that, we'll see that removed towards the end of this year, well into the first quarter of next year, calendar-wise, as well as excise tax for cars and capital gains, and everything that's Fed-related unconstitutionally will be unwinding in a domino effect. But just take a quick listen to this video, and then we'll come back.
America is going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly. It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before. Do you know the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States, relatively speaking. In other words, relatively. And they set up the Great Tariff Commission of 1887, and this commission had one function: what to do with all the money that we took in. It was so enormous that they had no idea. It was a blue ribbon committee. It was set up 1887, and what to do with all of the money that we had. And again, Teddy Roosevelt was a beneficiary, because when McKinley was killed, he took over this vast sum of money, and he did all of those national parks and all of the other things. And I'm not knocking him, but he was given a vast amount of money, and that was all made through tariffs. We had no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Does that make sense, right?
Okay, so again, future proofs past. This was done in the recent past, but again, everything sort of goes in a circular motion. So we thought that was important for you to see. Let us turn our attention to the next article here. Oops, let me stop that. Sorry about that. And let us go to the next one here. Okay, so going to our next article here, vis-a-vis President Trump and the administration. Let's turn our attention here to Caroline Leavitt. This was done earlier this week. Again, it falls under the other category with med beds. We all know they're real. We've talked about this. I've given you some examples of testimonies of people we know in the past, but it wasn't really talked about in public forum until recently, when President Trump did his deepfake AI, which is showing people he's talking to the public directly, letting people know what's coming. That's why you're seeing all these tariffs on big pharmacia/big pharma, because he's getting ready to phase them out. That's why you've been seeing the big Rite Aids and CVS and Walgreens going down summarily, because they're getting ready to phase them out. But check out this brief video clipping on the med beds, and then we'll come back.
First thing, I want to ask about this video that the president posted the other day. It was an AI deepfake of himself talking about something called med beds. What was he trying to communicate to the public there, and why did he delete it?
I think the president saw the video and posted it, and then took it down. And he has the right to do that. It's his social media. He's incredibly transparent, as you all know. You hear from him directly on social media. He likes to share memes. He likes to share videos. He likes to repost things that he sees other people post on social media as well. And I think it's quite refreshing that we have a president who is so open and honest directly himself. Many a times on Truth, you are hearing directly from the President of the United States.
So key there, folks, is she didn't deny it. She didn't get in front of it and deny the existence of med beds. That's what you have to think about in the details there. Very, very important as we go forward to catch these little phraseologies that they use, transparency being one of them. So now we turn our attention here to the US debt clock. A couple of interesting comms came out this week. We the People, talking about restoring the constitutional republic, money laundering, 1913. Fed has no actual reserves, conspiracy to counterfeit. This we all know, but it is a very interesting denotation there. And then we will show you the other one here, which I thought was equally compelling. Let me get out of this. And there we go. And here it is. Plain sight, Fed under construction, out of time. So he's going to be clearly optically phasing out the Fed, we believe, towards the end of this year. Again, with the no income tax, everything kind of correlates very, very nicely. So that is that. Let's turn our attention to something else equally important. And this is a Grok translation. Israel is preparing, so on October 1st, a couple days ago, Israel is preparing for a possible escalation of war with Iran. Again, we believe this is a very clear and present sign of the late, great Kim Clement's grave surrender. And I think we can leave it right there. A couple more I want to show you that are equally important. Regarding Venezuela, which we've been talking about lately, here we can see here an update. Venezuela begins the government-ordered Christmas celebrations in October imposed by President Maduro, quote unquote. He wants one last Christmas before he's gone. President Trump said we're going to have a great Christmas. A lot of different interlockings there, folks. And then let me show you this other article, which is a bit of a wild card, but I thought it was pretty significant. And so we want to bring some attention to this. And you will see in a moment here, U.S. is preparing for regime change in Venezuela with all the narrative of the fentanyl removals, with our military going over there to attack that. What it's really about here is removing the corruption, and you do that with regime change. Venezuela's real president-elect is collaborating with Washington on transition plans after the invasion, which is currently happening. Maduro lost the election, but stayed in power anyway through corruption, much like here in the US, countries copy each other. The real president, we thought it was going to be Marina Corina Machado. Actually, it turns out that President-elect Edmundo Gonzalez is currently exiled in Spain, is waiting there patiently in preparation to return and assume power when the dictator's regime, Maduro, collapses, or key word is destroyed. And this is significant for the Bolivar, as you well know. So very, very exciting what we see developing here on all these different cross fronts. Now, as we conclude here for today's podcast on the commodities market, as usual, precious metals, silver is up to $47.63 at the time of this broadcast, which you can see here. So you know exactly when this was done. Gold up all-time highs right now, $3,900.90. So it cracked the $3,900 mark. And again, silver is getting back up to 48. I believe 50 was its all-time high, but it's going to smash that easily this month, no problem, at the rate it's going. Crude oil is down, interestingly enough, to $60.68. We're looking for that $60 mark, and then to go down into the 50s from there as this thing gins up. You see the stock market coming up all-time highs. Watch for it when it goes to 50,000 and above. S&P is over 6,700. We talked about how significant that is. Mr. B, my dear friend, tells me he believes it's got somewhere between 7,000 to 8,000 before we see a crash. So we're getting to that climax point. And then the Dixie dollar index is at 97.85. So it's making its way back down to that 97, 96 mark, and we believe that can get down into the 80s below as we see all these other events correlating together. Well, that does it for this week's RV Report. Thanks for listening, being patient with us as we go through the process. If we have any breaking news, we'll get that to you post haste. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. God bless. Goodbye for now.